And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Hello, everybody. Yes, indeed, it is Who's Views, and we are back with headlines. And don't forget, we want your opinions and your views. This is the show which will listen. We may argue occasionally, but this is the show that will listen to you as well. So make sure you've got all your views, because it's our views and it's your views. It's also their views. Let's bring them on straight away. I've got Paul and I've got third Dr. Ian here as well. Hello, you two.
Hello there. How you doing?
Well, we've got a lot to get through this evening, because I don't know if you guys, but have you all heard? We've got ratings to talk about. We've got Bad Wolf investment to talk about. And everybody, yes, I want to get into this straight away, because we're going to be talking now about somebody who's connected to Doctor Who, who's got a new job. And it has been out and about this week, hasn't it, guys? So let's get onto this right now. And hello to everybody in the chat. We will come to you very, very shortly and say hello to you. But what do you think about all of this? Okay, so this is Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa. Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa. That's his name. Now, if he looks slightly familiar, it's because he's also known as Jinx Monsoon. Yes, he's the drag queen, Jinx Monsoon. And of course, connected to Doctor Who, because in the next alleged series of our favourite Time Lord, all allegedly, he's going to be in an up-and-coming episode of it, isn't he? Yeah, so that's that. So we're going to be dealing with that as we get there, won't we, everybody?
We will indeed, yes.
But yeah, and we are so excited about it, as you can tell. But he has been in the news this week. Now, I want to put a disclaimer out there right now. I am not happy with what I am about to read out to you all. Okay, that's it. Let's look at this together and see if you can see why I am unhappy about this. Now, this is from Out.com. Now, Out.com, Out Magazine, is one of these magazines which is part of the LGBTQI plus cult in America. And indeed, it contributed to the rise of the TQI agenda over there, along with that old Crohn's drag race show. But let's get into the story and let us know what you think about this. This is what they put out this week. Jinx Monsoon's theatre domination continues after landing a lead role in this iconic musical. Stand by your beds and grab your helmets. Jinx Monsoon's musical theatre world domination is just getting started. On Wednesday, February the 28th, the Doctor Who actress and two-time RuPaul's Drag Race winner announced that she'll be playing Audrey, the lead female character in the three-time Best Musical Revival award-winning production of Little Shop of Horrors. Monsoon is taking over the role from even Rachel Wood from Westworld, who finished her run in the musical on March the 31st. Starting on April the 2nd, Monsoon will star as Audrey alongside Corbin Bleu from the Heights High School Musical as Seymour, and James Carpinello, Rock of Ages and The Punisher, as Dr. Orin Scrivello. Monsoon wrote in a statement, "Little Shop of Horrors was my favorite movie musical as a kid, but Audrey is a role I considered out of the realm of possibility for me. To get to play her in this incredible production is terribly exciting. As a drag queen who grew up watching the iconic Ellen Green performance, I'm thrilled and honored to get to bring Audrey to life in a whole new way that also pays homage to her memorable origins." Following her original Broadway debut in Chicago in early 2023, Monsoon announced that she's returning for another limited run as matron Mama Morton between June 27th and July the 12th. She has also previously announced her Carnegie Hall debut concert on Valentine's Day 2025. Otherwise, this Drag Race legend has recently released a new fragrance called Hira, which sold out in just 25 hours. Perfume became important to me when I really started to invest in how I present myself to the world, Monsoon told WWD. In my own trans identity and my own gender journey, please don't fall asleep at this point, everybody. I'm constantly self-manifesting and constantly finding ways to be more myself, to find new ways to present myself to the rest of the world so that they see me and smell me the way I want them to know me. Jinx Monsoon keeps reigning supreme, says Out.com, and we love to see it. Really? I mean, am I the only one that reads that and just thinks the world has gone crazy? What the hell? This is a drag queen.
Yeah, can I just backpedal you a little bit for the benefit of an old over 50s white guy? Okay, can I just clarify this? Okay, so I thought Jinx Monsoon was a drag artist, not a trans person. Can I just clarify that? Is that the case?
Apparently so. No, this is where we get into all this absolute extreme left-wing ideological nonsense. Nonsense. Now this, Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer, is what I would term a gay man. He has married another gay man. It's been pointed out to me that he identifies as non-binary. Newsflash, humans can't be non-binary. It's all in there. And the rest of the world doesn't have to actually go with that opinion because it's not a fact. So, yeah, he's a drag queen. He's a gay man playing a character called Jinx Monsoon, who is now actually playing women's roles.
Now, I have to say something based on Russell T Davis's mantra about a straight actor can't play a gay character. This is the same thing. That shouldn't be allowed. He's not a woman, he's a man. So why is he playing a female part if he's a man? That doesn't make sense. That's robbing female actors of their position as an actor in a role that's a female role, isn't it?
It's not an equal rule, though, is it?
It's not. No,
it's a rule he throws in just to give more roles to his mates, basically. But I mean, this is, back in Shakespeare's time, women weren't allowed on the stage, were they? And it was men dressed as women, which was rightly, as time advanced and people got a little bit more sensible and civilized, women were able to play their parts, and quite rightly too. But we're actually going back to the Middle Ages if we're having men playing women's roles. I mean, I could imagine that mess playing the monster, the alien plant. Yeah, I could believe that. Wouldn't need any bloody makeup. But that playing the female, it's insanity.
Yeah,
it's insanity. And
I need to add an allegedly to that, Ian, just to keep you right.
It's an opinion, isn't it? It is an opinion. Thank you to everybody that's watching us in the chats. Keep your comments coming. I'm going to come to you in a couple of seconds. I just want to point out as well, what gets me about this is that the wording on that, she, hers, she, her. No, Jinx Monsoon is a character. She doesn't exist. He does. Jerick, when will you actually take off the high heels and the slap and the wig and get a role for yourself? That's what I want to know here. This is ridiculous. She is a fictitious character,
like Dame Ed Everidge was for Barry Humphries.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it does come to most of the drag queens. Certainly the ones I've known. At some point, they get to a point where they think, I can't be bothered putting on the tights anymore. I want to be myself. But he's obviously ka-ching, 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 because he's getting all these Broadway or off Broadway, wherever it is, roles, and things like our very own Doctor Who here. So when the credits go up on this, what I'm predicting is going to be a god awful episode in May or June. Will it say Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffer, or will it say Jinx Monsoon playing the best, brilliantest, most exciting and baddest villain the Doctor's ever faced in his lifetime? It's going to say Jinx Monsoon, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
It's going to say Jinx Monsoon.
I do believe it's the Beatles episode, so God help us with that one. So, yeah.
So the credits will say a character played by a character.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
You couldn't make it up, Ian. You really couldn't. It's so meta. It's potentially...
What about the perfume? Is the perfume mode of bullshit? Because the entire thing around this person seems to be complete bullshit.
Well, it must be. It absolutely must be, mustn't it? Because let's look at that again, if you don't mind, everybody here, where he talks about this. This perfume he's brought out as well. Now, what the hell is he talking about? In my own trans identity and my own gender journey. What are these people talking about? They're driving me insane. You are a man. Your sexuality is homosexual because you've married another man. Own it, for Christ's sake. Why are you not proud about that? Why are you throwing in all this? You're not trans, as far as I'm aware. You are not going through a period, a load of painful operations and life-altering drugs to become a woman. God forbid. Do you know what I mean? You're a drag queen. You are a drag character. Apparently, from the reviews you are getting, Mr. Roman Lamar Hoffa, you're actually quite good. You can sing and you can land a joke. You can follow a script. So people are saying that. I don't know if that's true or not because I don't know who you are. Don't really care. But you are not female. They shouldn't be referring to you as she. And why are you insisting on taking women's parts? There's a reason why that part in Little Shop of Horrors was not able for you to grasp as a little boy because you're a little boy. And that's a female role.
To be fair, they have done it before. They did it with Paul O'Grady, didn't they, with Annie and stuff like that? They've done similar things.
They have. Yeah, but he did it as a one-off, really. He did that in Prisoner.
Yeah.
You know, and the gag was, it was a bloke in drag.
Yeah.
Because you've also got the character that was now built around Divine for Hairspray. Now, that is, the gag is now, we all go to that knowing it's going to be a fella in drag playing that part. It's become a bit pantomime-esque, hasn't it, Hairspray?
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun. But that isn't, I don't know. This is happening too much now, but it's also the wording on that Out magazine. She. That's what really gets me. And that's coming more and more to the front of this now. We're seeing it more and more often where these men are being called she and her and all this nonsense.
I suppose this female part, it's the only female part he's ever going to have, isn't it? Really?
Oh, he's here all week, everyone.
He's here all week.
Listen, Garbage is saying, how is RuPaul Drag Race winner an accolade? I have no idea. I'll tell you something. If I was in charge of television, I'd axe that show because it has brainwashed Garbage so many young people and some of the older ones that should know better. You know, the ones that were around in the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s, they should know better. They should know what drag is, especially in our country, especially
I caught an episode once. I saw one person dragged up as the Rani at one point. That was interesting.
Oh, I can't be done with that. We've got Richard here saying, hello, stealing a role from a woman. How is that not misogynistic? It's all this, isn't it? Crimplin is saying self-manifesting. Ugh. Yeah, exactly. Boring, says Richard. He's not trans. He's a drag act. Now, this is where, Richard, I don't understand why these things are getting all tucked together. It's not trans identity. And have you noticed they shorten these things, these left-wing ideological fools? They've shortened it to trans. Transgender is not transvestite. Drag queens are not usually transgender. God knows what could happen in this day and age, but it's usually a fella, a bloke in a frock, telling hopefully un-PC gags to an adult audience, not children, adult. And before anybody says it, pantomime is different because that's the gag again. It's a fella in drag playing the dame. That's why it's called the dame, because it's a gag. It's a British gag. Sam is telling us, happens all the time now. We've just had Wizard of Oz locally with Miss Vivian as the witch, plus Craig from Strictly, who played Miss Hannigan and Annie recently. That's true. Yeah, that is true. But don't they understand? It's a woman's role, isn't it? I don't get it. Raymond is saying
even worse if the casting people who give them these roles, if any of those are women as well, then shame on them. Really, it really is.
There are an awful lot of in my eyes, misguided women out there as well. But there are an awful lot of the ladies that are standing up for this, saying, "Hang on a minute." I mean, can you imagine that role there? It's a great role. We all know Little Shop of Horrors, don't we? Come on, we're science fiction fantasy fans. We all know it. It's a great gag. It's very funny. But that role is a funny role. But it's a female role. Can you imagine all the younger actresses out there who are now being unable to get that? Because I'm
surprised Equity, the Actors Union, is allowing it, to be honest. But
well, they're probably up the woke canal, aren't they?
Probably,
let's face it.
Without a paddle, yes, exactly.
Yeah. Garbage is again saying a character playing a character playing a character. This is where it gets confusing. So Jarrett Roman Lamar Hoffa is playing Jinx Monsoon, a character he has created. It's not a real person. And then Jinx Monsoon, that character, is now taking these other characters my head hurts. Kirsty is saying, "Slay my queens." Ooh, she's doing that to me. Ooh, Kirsty, you are a naughty, naughty one. And then she's going, "Hello." Richard is saying to us, "This dude is a gay man who dresses up as a woman, so not at all trans then." No, not at all. Not at all. You know, because transgenders, proper transgenders, go through years of stress, anguish, mental well-being issues, counseling, sympathetic organizations that will help them, you know, because the genuine ones are genuine. They're not just doing it to be in the showbiz line or anything like that. And then they go off and they have their lives and they try to keep very quiet as well. And good luck to them. That's what this is not about. But this is
and
about
try and lead a normal life. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this is about, and it's also about the terminology in that article that really wound me up. She's doing this. She's doing this. No, she doesn't exist. He does. You know,
it's the same as they last week. The Guardian, I think it was, not surprised, reported that murderer, wasn't it? It described it as a female and everything else, and it was actually a bloke.
This is why it ties in with all this, and this is why I think, and thanks for raising that, Ian, just to point out, Blue Worm saying that, have you heard about our John? He's a gay man now. It's a Catherine Tate sketch. Hilarious. Where the Catherine Tate plays a Catholic Irish mother whose son comes out as gay, and instead of being the predictable Irish mother that you'd expect, where she bashes him around the place, you know, or something like that, she's so protective of him. Anyone that comes near it, she's going to eat them. You wouldn't be able to do that today. You would not get away with that. So you can see it on the Tube of Who. You can go and look at those, but they are brilliant. Thanks for that, Blue. We're fantastic. But yeah, going back to your point, Ian, this is why I think this is coming at exactly the wrong point in British society. I don't know much about what's going on, but certainly with us, because Doctor Who is going to come along in a matter of weeks saying, "Oh, look, Jinx Monsoon, she this, she this, she this, she this." I think there's going to be some sort of uproar. Certainly on this show there will be, because we're starting it now. But can you see what I'm saying here? Because we've just had this court case this week, as you say, where they say, actually, no, hang on a minute. That is not a woman. Don't call her a woman. That's a bloke. I stand with J.K. Rowling on this. Yeah. This is absolutely ridiculous what's going on here, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, definitely. There has to be a point where people have the common sense returned, for goodness sake.
When is that going to come back in? When are the adults going to come back in the room and say, look, you're a character? You know, and I've mentioned before on this show, I have worked with some of the great drag queens of our age. Fantastic. But when they went into the green room, or what was usually the bogs, let's face it. The wig came off, the tights come off, the drag comes off, the slap comes off, it's a bloke. And they go and have a whiskey or a pint or something like that and relax after their show. Do you know what I mean? This is just, for me, this is getting totally out of hand. And a lot of these young people that are taken into this cult are believing that, you know, this you have to refer to it. No, it's a bloke. Gosh, I don't understand this at all. Timescales, hello to you. Drag queens have been part of San Francisco culture for generations. I'm a 50-plus straight white male, and I don't have any issue with them. Parades and shows I have attended have all been great fun. Absolutely.
Yeah.
As I've just said, I've worked with the greats in Britain in my time. We have grown up with drag, but drag was always a man, usually gay, in a frock, telling lewd and un-PC jokes to an adult audience. We've now got drag queens taking female roles. It's a bloke.
It goes other way as well, doesn't it? Could you have a drag king, don't you? A lesbian being a man.
Not many. You've not many of them, but you do. Yeah. We've had few in the past. We have had a few. Yeah. Cybermatch Strikes is saying we don't mess around straight into the big issues. Absolutely. That's it. I mean, it's all about discussion on this show, guys. You know that. We want to know your point. Good point, Ian, says Richard Brooks. I was just about to say that Shakespeare had male-only actors.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah, but they did because, you know, women weren't allowed then, were they? It's weird how it could happen again. You know, call me a cynic. The other thing about this is I'm thinking the only reason they're all doing this is because they're after the pandering again to this crowd, this cult that's been derived from this TQI agenda, these messages that are being put through, this utter brainwashing nonsense. Bums on seats. Let's get bums on seats.
Yeah.
I think they feel a bit empowered, don't they? And there's all sorts coming out now. Really, they're doing ridiculous bollocks like this because it is, and I'm not going to put allegedly on that because it really is. But
Yeah.
we've heard this week about one of those plays in London where they're having black only nights, where white people stay away so black people can feel safe. I didn't know they was. I mean, this is unbelievable saying that. I didn't understand that black people were such snowflakes because there's a colour correction required there. But it certainly seems that way. I think, to be honest, the vast majority of black people aren't snowflakes and have got quite a spine on them and are just normal, well-adjusted people. But the fact that they put stuff like this on and it isn't pulled up or censored in any way is just an extension of pandering. And ultimately, it'll be a lot of blowback and it won't be pretty. But yeah.
If you got to the bottom of who suggested the idea of having a black night, I'm sure it wasn't somebody who was black. You know, it'd be somebody a white reactionary person, no doubt, who was doing it.
I'm not sure. We'd have to double check on that one because I do think there was somebody. I did see something the other day on X, and I didn't really take the details down at that point. But he was black, but he also had very long red nails and makeup on.
All right, okay.
So I'm not sure. But
I was half right then. Okay,
half right. But in context as well, that story that broke over the last couple of days, Number 10 itself has come out saying, no, you can't do that. So let's hope that doesn't happen because that is, again, segregation. And as I've said on the show before, history has proven segregation does not work. Where does it stop then? Because you won't be able to have white-only nights. Imagine the uproar. But would you have homosexual nights? We already know you can't have lesbian-only nights because the TQI cult don't like lesbian-only nights. The majority of lesbian bars in the UK are no longer there because lesbian-only nights means you can't be a trans woman coming in because guess what? You are a fella. You are not a lesbian. You know, so they've all been attacked, you know, and called everything, which is nonsense. So, yeah, it is ridiculous. So where does the line get drawn here? Common sense has flown out the window.
I think, you referred, JT, to white-only nights, and I've seen people on X responding to this play in London with its black-only nights for their safe space and all that rubbish. But the fact of the matter is, with black only to the exclusion of white people, you have this pathetic Roland Rat lookalike at Number 10 saying, "Oh, we can't do that. It's not allowed. Give me a piece of cheese." But then, if you did a white,
I won't be able to look at him the same way again now.
And the boss eyes, I can't get past those. But then, if you did propose a white only night, you wouldn't get the Prime Minister turning up and saying, "Oh, you can't do that." You'd have the police at the door. You would be arrested or at very least cautioned, and that's where there's two-tier policing in this country. You know, it's one thing is they get away with it, and the other one is ridiculous.
And that's why we're in the state we're in now. I mean, this has been in the UK a hell of a week for politics. Yes. It really has been a hell of a week for politics. This has been quite a scary week for everybody, I think, in the UK this week. Our democracy is hanging. Well, there's that, and our democracy is hanging in the balance right now. Yeah. Our Prime Minister had to come out on Number 10 yesterday to basically give us a very polite warning to say, knock it off and grow up. You know, we were all being naughty children. And too late in my opinion on that. But it's got to this point. And as Richard is saying here, it's funny how the progressives are so regressive, isn't it? They call themselves progressive. They're not. They're regressives. They're part of all this nonsense that's going on. Blue Worm is reminding us a while back, Scarlett Johansson was going to play a trans character, but got so much crap for it that she passed on the role. Exactly. So who are they supposed to give that to?
Because Jinx Monsoon or whoever it is has just done the opposite of that, and it's okay, and it's being lauded in the press. It's disgraceful.
Just the actors act, for God's sake. How many more times do I have to say that?
Yeah, I know. And why isn't Mr. Jerick Ramon Lamar Hoffa coming out as himself now? Because he can't hide behind the wig, the tights, and the high heels, as I say, forever, because he will age. You know, even the great late female impersonator performer, not drag queen, Danny LaRue, tried to get out of what he was doing, but was forced to do more of what he was doing because he lost all his money. Remember, he was robbed blind, wasn't he? God bless him.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get out of all that, but he couldn't. So he had to go back as a 50, 60-year-old man to do that because that's the only thing he could do. I just don't like all the terminology to it as well. It's not a woman. She's doing this. She's just launched a perfume. She's taking the lead role of this female character. They even say it in that. I read it out to you. It's the lead female role. It's a bloke, for crying out loud. If only he was alive today, says Crimpoline, Dick Emery's Mandy could guest in Doctor Who as Oprah Winfrey. That would be fabulous.
I'd pay money to see that, definitely. Yeah. So,
Well, bless him. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And he didn't really like playing Mandy, did he? It's an interesting idea. Can you play another character playing another character? It sounds like hard work. Well, yes, because this is one of the things we will come back to when we've seen the performance of Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa playing Jinx Monsoon, playing the greatest villain that the Doctor has ever met in his entire life. You know, we will really be dissecting that on this channel, on the reviews shows when it comes in for the new ones every Sunday. There you go. Let's have a look. Dada, hello. Barry Humphrey's schnauzer joke will always be funny to me. Don't know what you mean. Gary's here with us.
Funny joke.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Hello, Honky Tonks. Ooh, you are awful. For those outside the UK, very classic lines from the late great Dick Emery himself as well. Honky Tonks was his gay character, Clarence, who liked to sailor.
And
hello, Honky Tonks.
He'd shove you, wouldn't he? He'd shove you away. Yeah,
exactly. So, hello to Matt, the Silent Wee Music King there as well, who's in there with us. Oh, look at all this. Kirsty's saying, I'm going to stick to my basic Dior perfume. Ooh, she's quite push, isn't she?
There's nothing basic about Dior, surely, Kirsty.
At this point, let's say a big hello to Kirsty and Garbage, both of whom are looking after everybody in the chat. Nice to see you all. Timescales is telling us, I think the credits will show the character as Jinx Monsoon or whatever name they go by, like rappers, and then credit the actor with Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa. I think it'll just say, greatest, baddest villain the Doctor has ever met in his entire 61-year run, Jinx Monsoon.
They'll never get that on the credits. They'll have to do a Christopher H. Bidmead and take out the Hamilton instead.
Raymond, hello Raymond, nice to see you. It's a commercial thing. It's highly profitable being trans, especially now that he's become a brand. He's not trans though, is he? He's not transgender. He's not actually also transvestite, is he? Because there are differences to these things, but because they've shortened it down conveniently, I think that's where, no offense to any to the Who-tastic panel, and no offense to anybody watching, all you breeders out there, but this is where I think all you straight people get it confused because because you're deliberately misled. It's now trans. Transgender is not transvestism, and it's certainly nothing to do with sexuality for lesbians and gays and bisexuals. They are all different things, but they say trans. So when children, as they now do, as young people come out now saying, I'm trans, what does that mean exactly? Are you telling me that you are wanting to change your gender, in which case, right, let's get you to some expert advice first of all, or are you telling me that you're just wearing black nail varnish? Very, very confusing and deliberately confused world. Do you not think, Ian?
I think it's insane. It is a complete absence of common sense and an inability to process straightforward biological fact. And people, as they grow up, especially in their sort of like early, mid, late teens, I should just say teens, shouldn't I? As they go through their teens, especially, they test things, they try things, they're curious and everything else.
Go through phases, yeah.
And it has always been like that, always. Yeah. But you know, for some reason now there is a quite militant, far left element. Let's call it that, because it is. That is just thinking, right, okay, that's not a phase. They've got to have drugs and have bits chopped off, and that's. You know, it's crazy. The fact that in 2024, this kind of stuff is going on and nobody's really, I mean, some of us are obviously, but nobody really in the mainstream media, for example, is calling this out and saying it for the insanity that it is really quite disturbing. There's a lot of teenagers, there's a lot of kids that are going to be very, very damaged 10 or 15 years from now. Seeing it already. but there's going to be an awful lot more, and there's going to be a lot of suicides as a result of it. And all the ones that are promoting it, that are pushing the puberty blockers and everything else, and promoting surgery, all of those will hold their hands up and say nothing to do with us, Gov, and they should be locked up for good.
It'll be interesting, won't it? Because I totally agree. There's going to be a whole generation that come out here, and I mean, we have seen some young people now, and it breaks my heart when I see them saying they went down the wrong path. They just turn out to be lesbian or gay, a gay man. And you know, they've just cut their life completely, haven't they? The life they've had has been destroyed and taken away from them completely, just so somebody can make money or tick a bloody box. That's all it's about there. But yes, I totally agree. I think we're going to see a lot more of that coming up in the next 20 years and beyond. And it's absolutely horrific to think what could be happening to these young people, because they're being pressurized and brainwashed into this all the time. We've got this old Crohn's Drag Race show, which is all around the world now. And I'll just remind people, it took nearly 20 years to get that show onto the BBC because it didn't fit what we know as drag. So what they did, changed the British drag scene. That's what they did to fit it in. It took that long. I remember them talking about this in the 90s, about getting this show on, you know, or whenever it started. I was younger, so I can't remember. I'd heard about it in America, and I knew that, and they were selling it like they do, and they were trying to get it to Britain, and it wouldn't work because I think there were certain elements of our drag, professional drags here that were saying, no, that's not what we do here. We've actually got talent, because they don't lip sync. They actually sing. Yeah. They actually perform. They actually tell jokes. They think on their feet. Certainly all the drag queens I've worked with in my career are incredibly talented. They are very, very good. But they're all live, and they have to be like this, because in Britain, we don't do lip sync. What the hell was that? And this is what this show's all about. And it couldn't get over here because it wasn't what we did. It wasn't what we did. So they changed the whole culture of it. And we've got youngsters that have been buying into it now for as however long it's been going now. And it's frightening to me. And now we've got the media writing reports like that one. Obviously, I'll say again, the Out.com is part of the TQI cult, and Out magazine, as others are here. But it's all she, and that's going to have to be addressed. And I think the day's coming very, very quickly now, especially in our country. I don't think they're going to get away with that much longer.
No.
Well, we're talking about confusion and being a straight man. I'm speaking for myself here. They should produce a book that has like a kind of like a what do these words mean? Because I'm completely lost with some of these phrases that.
Well, they have.
And I'm completely lost with it. So they have they really? Okay.
Yes, you can get loads of them. Some of them do come from America, which is again the problem. No, again, I'm going to apologize. No offense to our American watchers here, but a lot of what happens with you eventually gets over here. And our culture, I mean, we've seen it this week. Our culture is changing here in Britain to suit an American narrative. It really annoys me as a British person. I really don't like it. And we're seeing it every single day. We are British. We are not American. We don't have the same history as America. What Ian was mentioning there before about the black only nights in the theatre, that's come from America, because your history is totally different to ours. We don't need that because we've been integrated for years to an extent, you know, so we don't have that. And that's why Number 10 have come out to say, you need to rethink this. We're not happy with this. And quite right on this occasion. But there's other things like the whole TQI cult and all this. It's all come over here. Winds me up chronic. Let's have a look, see what's happening in the chat. Gary Bryant, hi Gary, is saying to us, Doctor Who is panto now, so what's the problem? It's only to be expected. This is actually going to, isn't it, Gary? That's going to be what the British public look at that episode for. They're just going to go, how low has it gone? You know, this is taking us right back to the Paul Daniels is the Doctor type thing.
Yeah, they said that in 1987 as well, didn't they? So
yes.
Yeah. And look what happened there.
Yeah.
Garbage saying it happened on the Starbeast. She is beautiful. She is amazing. I have an amazing daughter. I'm so bored and sick of this crap. I think most of us are now, because they're enforcing that on us, aren't they? They're saying, look, you have to accept this. No, let's accept the reality, shall we? And the truth of things. Let's have a look at that. We need to stop being, in my eyes, we need to stop being polite for the sake of being polite. This is going too far now. This is not a woman in a woman's role. This is a fella in drag in a woman's role. Let's say what it is. Let's be truthful with people, shall we? Tony is saying here, bring back Danny LaRue as Alpha Centauri. Can you imagine that one? That would have been fun. Thank you very much for all this. Keep on going. The only newspaper to read is the Daily Express. There's garbage. No
Of
comment
course,
from me
yes.
on that. I don't know. I don't read any of them. They're having a little chat there as well. So that's fine. Yeah, going ahead. Yeah. So this was just something I just thought, I'm looking forward. Let's put it this way. How will the Radio Times deal with this? That very, very up Doctor Who's arse magazine. They want all the set access. They want all the exclusive. What are they going to do with this, Paul?
Monsoon's going to be on the front cover of the Radio
I was
Times.
just thinking that. Yeah.
I'll bet you a tenner, guys, already on that now.
I think that's easy money. I think you are absolutely right. Yeah.
Matt is saying someone fire RTD and put him in charge. And then he's saying vote for him as showrunner of Doctor Who. Doug's saying this all reminds me of Little Britain with the I'm a Lady. It's strange how that comes back in certain cases, isn't it? I have thought about those two characters so much this week with what's been going on. And Cybermat strikes, to be fair, if they interview the Jinx Monsoon character, isn't a female pronoun appropriate? If they interview Dame Edna, she doesn't break character and is referred to as a she. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, but this is interviewing Dame Edna, Jinx Monsoon. I don't know if he was interviewed as Jinx Monsoon. This is where it gets complicated, but he's still taken on a role that could have gone to a female.
Yeah.
And they're still referring to her as a her, or to him as a her. Oh.
If you interviewed Barry Humphries, then as Dame Edna, then you were taking part in a way in the make-believe that you were talking to a real woman, because that's what he was pretending to be. He wasn't pretending to be a man in drag. He was pretending to be a woman. And so you sort of like participated in that and played along. So it was Barry Humphries playing Dame Edna. But this American bloke, whatever the hell is that, I can't remember.
His real name is Derek Roman Lamar Hoffer.
Okay.
It's quite a handle, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Yes.
Yeah. He's playing Jinx Monsoon, and there's another link in that chain, isn't there? And it starts getting very, very, very convoluted and stupid. Really stupid.
We are in some sort of grip of insanity. And after this week in our own country as well, in Britain here, we've seen a lot of it coming through now. I do honestly believe that something's going to snap at some point, and I think it's coming very quickly, especially after this week. Gary is saying to us, time to play Tears for Fears, Mad World. Absolutely. And Blue Worm is telling us the race and victim grifts are very lucrative businesses. Yeah, everybody's a victim now, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
It's very, very odd here what's going on here. Thank you for all your comments, everybody. It's great that you are actually getting involved with our chat here on this one. Doug, this reminds me of Eddie Izzard, well-known transvestite, now refers to herself as trans. Colour me confused. He's not trans at all, is he, though, Doug? Eddie Izzard is a bloke who happens to be a transvestite. He's just actually an example of the shortening of that to trans, so that he can keep himself in this bracket. Twice now denied a seat in various councils. He didn't win the vote in two places. Goodness knows where he's going to crop up now, but he really drives me mad. Oh, I refer to me as a she. No, you were always a transvestite, and none of us had any problems with you.
Was he standing for the Raving Loony Party? Was he?
No, standing for Labour.
Yeah.
Oh, was
Same
he? Right,
thing,
okay. Well,
the word of the moment is confused, says Gary.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's not just confusing. It's a case of bandwagon jumping, isn't it? We've talked about that before.
Yeah.
I can see it happening more and more now. People jumping on bandwagons because they want to virtue signal, in a sense. They want to be seen as good people. But what they're doing is they're having an adverse effect, usually on women and usually on the LGBT community.
But they're on and off the bandwagons like buses, aren't they? They just jump to which one's popular. It's
Yeah. What else is here? Garbage is saying, I'm worried what a trans Matt does on Doctor Who now. Oh, good one. And it is in the Springsteen song, says Raymond, want to change my clothes, my hair, my face from rebel without a cause to punk rock. It used to be called Finding Yourself. Nothing wrong with that at all, is there? I mean, we've all had to go through those precious years as teenagers where you find yourself. Absolutely. But now they're starting at the age of 4 or 5, apparently, with all and it's all not about balance. It's all about there are more than 2 genders. You can be this. A little boy can be a girl. A little girl can. No. Let's have some common sense. It's just ridiculous.
Regardless of any of that, let the kids have a childhood, for God's sake,
Yeah. Simon Anthony is joining us and saying the UK was Americanized decades ago to an extent, and I think we're paying the price for it now. I do agree with that. We saw it coming in the 80s with all the television that suddenly appeared. All that awful stuff.
In Scotland, one of my bugbears is the Halloween trend that we have that's Americanized. In Scotland, it's called guising, and now we're doing a trick-or-treat version of that, which is what came from America. So kids go around the doors trick-or-treating rather than doing guising, which was like performing round the doors to get money or sweeties from your neighbour, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and that drives me crazy.
Yeah, totally. Drag, says Gary, was Les Dawson, the 2 Ronnies, Dustin G with Les Dennis, all harmless fun at the time.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. That was the drag element. John Pertwee himself did it.
Yeah.
In The Green Death. Do you remember? He dragged up. That's what we would call here in the UK dragging up. And we have had some superb entertainers who have done it for real. We still do in the UK. We've got some that are still proper old-fashioned drag, but they play it as a bloke in a dress. They're not prancing around thinking they're a woman like some of the younger ones do now, and certainly some of the ones in America do. They are a bloke in a woman, and sometimes they put on that funny walk that Emery had, the blokish walk, or they'll go up to the punters, all right, mate, how are you? It's all about that. It's all about that fun. It's the wink. It's the British humour. That's what drag was about. It's gone too far now. Now we've got some very, very, very confused men who actually believe they are the character they're creating. And some of them are right catty divs, to be quite honest. Awful, horrible. Dada is also saying to us, I just want entertainment and not to be lectured to constantly. Here, here.
Yeah.
Here. Don't we all? I don't know if we're ever going to get it back. Kirsty is very, very clear here that she is not a cis woman. Good for you.
Yeah.
I am not a cis man either.
That
is a slur. It's a horrible slur. If you don't know what it means, apparently it means comfortable in skin.
Why does it need a label to be comfortable in your own skin? It's ridiculous.
They need labels now, don't they?
Absolutely.
They have to label everything.
I've got it written on the back of my jersey here. If you look at the back there.
Well, this is what we're dealing with. This is the mentality of the people we're dealing with, isn't it? They have to have those labels. They have to put you in a box so they understand where you are and who you are. And you have to have that, and you have to have that identification, or you have to have that representation. I wish they'd just all stay in the bedroom.
It's really weird. If you're looking for acceptance, just try and be accepted as being normal, and let's get on with it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
The thing is now that we've gone for years. I mean, all these things and phases and everything else, they've been around for years, and generally, people have just lived and let live, never had a problem.
Yeah.
But now it's becoming very, very divisive, and that is just going to make it ultimately harder for them, which it's self-inflicted.
Yes. And that actually worries me, because for a little while there, I've said this before, I think we had it more or less right. Everybody was quite tolerant. We were all plodding along. We were all having a little bit of a fun. The music was great. Entertainment was great. Everybody was just getting on with it. It wasn't perfect. Don't get me wrong. It's never going to be perfect because we're human. But it was almost that. I felt it as a gay man as well. I thought, this is actually a lot easier now. And then it's just gone all absolutely ridiculous.
That seems to be what they're striving for, is trying to get some form of perfection. And so everyone is wonderful, but life's
in their image.
Yeah.
It's in their image, though. That's the shocking thing, because it's just like the far right were doing in the 1930s and the 1940s, just on the other side.
Yeah. And
at some point they're going to clash, I think, and then the rest of us in the middle are going to be in the middle of one unholy war. It's going to be incredible, and I think we're almost getting there. It does worry me. This week especially has worried me. So we've got all that. Goodness me. So this is a topic that's not going to go away. The other thing that annoyed me about that, apart from the terminology from out.com about describing him as a her all the time, was Jinx Monsoon has even set up, or is it Jerick has even set up a perfume for women? Or is it TQI boys and girls?
It's an aftershave. It's an aftershave around the perfume.
It's a perfume. It's a perfume. So we've got a few of the girls in the chat tonight. Will you be buying that? What would he know? What would he know about being the scent of a woman and all this sort of? Oh, I'm getting a headache.
If he's a man, it has to be an aftershave. I'm very confused now. Surely it can't be a perfume.
No, it's a perfume. He launched it. He launched a perfume. So all his cult, all his fan base went and got it. Of course, if you don't like what we're saying here, well, in Russell T Davis's words, tough. This is whose views you're watching headlines. You can have your say. If you're watching us and not in the chat, come and join the chat. They're a great bunch in there, and come and tell us why you think we're wrong. But as far as I'm concerned, we are talking fact here and truth. Jinx Monsoon is a drag queen played by Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa. He's a man. He has a penis. He's a man. There we go. Right. Okay. So keep your chats coming through. We will be talking about this more, I'm sure, as we get near the dreaded new series of Doctor Who and that particular episode. Telling you right now, I'm prepared to diss it from very high height. Absolutely. So if you haven't subscribed, please do ring that bell to make sure you get to know when I'm kicking off, because that's going to be a great one. I guarantee you there's going to be more coming up on headlines about Jerick Roman Lamar Hoffa and Jinx Monsoon as we get nearer to that episode, because I have a feeling they are going to try and sell that everywhere in the UK.
Yeah.
And it's going
including
to be
the perfume / aftershave. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. All right, well, we're going to move now on to, we're going to revisit the subject of ratings. One of our favourite topics here on the show, isn't it, guys?
It is indeed.
Good
Yes.
ratings.
It's all lies, I'm telling you.
It's all lies.
And he told me that 374,000 times.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we're going to go back to obviously the Church of Ruby Road ratings, and we have discussed this before on the show. And yes, we've had some positive comments about it, and yes, we've had a few people knocking us as well, but we're going to go back and revisit it, because this is what we reported back in January. Overnight figures from TV Zone show that the Church on Ruby Road was watched by an average audience of 4.73 million on BBC One. It was the third most watched show of the day, which was Christmas Day, across all channels behind The King and Strictly Come Dancing. Consolidated, the Church on Ruby Road has overtaken both The King and Strictly Come Dancing to become the second most watched programme on Christmas Day, with 7,487,000. Call the Midwife, which was also broadcast on Christmas Day, was just ahead with 7.66 million. Okay, so we've got that there, all right? We then showed this from Ratings UK, which said that Ncuti Gatwa's first proper adventure pulled in an official audience of 7.49 million viewers from the official figures. That was up almost 2.8 million on its overnight audience and was the third most watched show of the week. Here were those four alleged specials from the end of 2023. So that's where we were up to. Okay. So you remember us talking about all this. Guys, you will certainly remember us talking about this. And we did cast our own shadow, our own opinion on that's a bit of a jump, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Well, this week, the new Doctor Who magazine hit the shelves this week, and they've mentioned it. Oh, yes, they did. And here it is. Following the announcement of viewing figures for the 2023 specials, in their last issue, the figure for those who watched the Church on Ruby Road within 28 days of broadcast has been released. The last issue, Public Image, explained how the Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle had all charted in the top 10 shows of their weeks, with the 28-day figures adding 0.75, 1.61, and 1.06 million viewers, respectively, to the 7-day numbers. It's possible the higher jump for the second and third specials was a result of their 28-day windows, including the Christmas period. Doctor Who magazine's rating expert, Tom Spilsbury, says, we can now confirm that the 28-day rating for the Church on Ruby Road is 8 million. This represents a healthy rise from the 7.49 million who had watched the special within the first 7 days. The episode was the third most watched drama over the festive season, behind only Call the Midwife and Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, which bodes extremely well for the success of the new series later this spring. Ha ha ha! Success coming up. I don't think so somehow. I wouldn't have also said Mr. Bates versus the Post Office was in the festive period, because it was out with that period. It was in January. It's very clearly in
And
January.
getting back to our Gladiators comparison in terms of ratings,
Yeah.
If we got some figures on Mr. Bates and versus the Post Office, if they counted that for a month, surely that would be gone up even higher than Doctor Who allegedly did, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is that we've got them here at Doctor Who magazine, the official magazine for the BBC show, and we know how far up they are, and they have to be, what have you. I mean, I've been questioning Doctor Who magazine for quite a long time now, because do you remember when the letters page suddenly went from having some actual balance and critical, and it just all became whitewash. This was actually, I think, towards the end of the Russell T Davies era, and it suddenly became all, oh, everything's fabulous, it's marvelous, it's all wonderful. It's still like that today, sadly. There's no balance at all. So I can understand why they've got to say this, but it's very odd, isn't it? You know, that they're actually saying there, 28-day period. This represents a healthy rise from the 7.49 million who had watched the special within the first 7 days. You're never ever going to convince me that's not Doctor Who fans going back over and watching it over and over and over and over again. And now they've got the Blu-ray and the DVD and their grubby little protuberances. Is that going to stop now? Because they can go back and watch their DVD continually. What do you guys think?
Well, I think it smacks of desperation that they have to measure them this way. If you can watch on iPlayer and watch, I think we discussed this before, you can watch the first 2 or 3 minutes, and that counts as a view for the entire program. Yeah. Then that doesn't count. Surely there must be that just exaggerates the numbers. Surely, and if fans are watching it continually to bolster the figures, then surely that doesn't count as actual viewers watching it, like normal viewers. I mean, non-fans. I mean,
What's your initial reaction, Ian?
The whole 28-day thing is rubbish, isn't it? I mean, it was never that, was it? I mean, it's obvious that if you extend the period that you're counting, that overall number is going to go up. You know, we knew after 7 or 10 days that the Tennant Swan Song was a really big hitter in the ratings. We knew that. We didn't need to wait 28 days. We didn't need to count it 28 days. So the fact that they're doing this is a desperate measure, it seems to me, because they're having to think, well, the figures aren't good. We're going to have to extend the period, and we're going to have to count this, and we'll count multiple watches and everything else, which just isn't a rating. It's one person watching it. It doesn't matter how many times, it's one person has watched it. In the same way that an IP address is recorded when you visit a website. Yeah. It records that IP, and if that IP goes back 50 times, it's one visit. Yeah. It doesn't do it. But I mean, Doctor Who magazine long ago lost any credibility. I mean, years. But I mean, the collective lips of Doctor Who magazine exist only to keep Russell T Davies's buttocks moist. That's the only reason they're there for. Arse kissing, and no other reason. And they know full well that they would not exist without his patronage. They're scared of him. They'll never say anything against the program. It's just a sycophantic rag.
It's smacks of desperation, really trying to bolster the figures like they are. But I think, unfortunately, I used to be a fan of the magazine, Doctor Monthly, Doctor Magazine, whatever you want to call it. And I think, unfortunately, in the recent era that it's in, I think it's going to dwindle or perhaps fold, which is such a shame. It's going for so long, but all this kissing arse, etc., is not going to pay off anyone at all. In the end, you're going to upset us. We'll not want to buy it anymore, and it'll just close and fold after nearly 50 years. It's ridiculous, you know.
Well, certainly, I've been expecting it to disappear for a little while, to be quite honest. And I do agree with that. I think it's going to have to finish at some point, especially when they're so desperate to. I believe the latest issue has. I don't believe. I know it because I looked at it. Didn't buy it. Looked at it. When you've got crystal meth, a whole article about crystal meth in there. A fan favourite. You all know who I'm talking about because you all love her, I am sure.
Yeah, Missy's Fast Forward. That's the one, isn't it? Yeah.
But what is that about? And that's alienating your. Well, I mean, they've been doing it for ages. They've been shedding us just like the TV show's been shedding because they don't want to know us. Thank you very much for your patronage over the last 40 years, but bye now. We don't want to know. Just like the TV show did when Chibnall took over, so they didn't want it. Now, you guys know we are going to get criticised for talking about this.
Yeah.
You guys know we're going to get criticized about this. You know we're going to get those comments in there from people that are telling us that we are talking through our arses about the ratings. What would you say to them about why the fact this is what you genuinely, totally believe, that these figures are debatable?
Well, if they could show me the evidence that isn't fans watching it again and again and again and again and again, I might believe it, but I don't. I'm never going to accept this, because I think that if they're going to accept a monthly viewing of a program and count the ratings, we have to go back to the 80s, like I said before, and count from season 18 up to 26, where people recorded the programs, and the viewing figures would be 3 or 4 million more. But we didn't do that. So why are we doing it now? You know?
One of the first off screens I got hold of was Earthshock, and I watched that so many times. I've lost track so many times. So I must have added at least 300,000 to Earthshock's viewing figures. But with any kind of reputable statistics, you have control elements. You have things that feed in that adjust things, like seasonal adjustments and things like that. And there's no adjustment here. There's no factor to account for one person watching something multiple times, and we know that's a fact. We know they do it, and because we've done it previously with other stuff, like with DVDs. It's the whole point of having DVDs, isn't it? If you like something, you'll watch it repeatedly, and if they're not factoring in that and adjusting the figures downwards accordingly, which they're not, then those figures aren't accurate. Simple as that.
Yeah. Just to reiterate, though,
it disappeared years ago, right up the backside of Russell T Davies.
Yeah, I don't understand. Sorry, Ian, I'm interrupting you. Sorry about that. I'm going to say TARDIS Travels, hello to you. The only figure that counts for the ratings are overnight views. And I also want to say hello to Neville. Hello, Neville. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Nice to see you. The only rating that counts is the one taken on the day. So, yeah, I agree with these two. I don't understand why it was changed. Now, I remember at the time in Broadcast, which is a trade magazine here in the UK, which has gone totally up its own arse as well, in my opinion. Doesn't tell the truth either. But I remember when it did, it said that the reason that the BARB system was changing, and remember who BARB is run by? It's run by the broadcasters to favour them. So they were changing it because technology was changing. They had to go with the fact that, television's changing, the way people view television is changing, all this nonsense, all this spin we get today. And yet shows like Gladiators and shows like Mr. Bates versus the Post Office show, that's utter nonsense. You put something on that the British public wants to see, they will sit down on the night with a cup of tea and a digestive biscuit, and they will watch it there and then. And they may go back and watch it afterwards. Probably not if they've watched it the once. Let's be honest. They will watch it on the night. That is there. So actually, to the industry, I would say you're actually giving us the wrong stuff to watch. We're not interested in what you're watching. That's why you're getting viewing figures which are in the toilet. We don't want to see it all. Have a word with yourselves and provide some proper entertainment without your propaganda. Cheers. Then see the ratings come in. But what we've got here is that's why it was all done. I still think bums on seats on that night. So we actually showed, and what we were trying to show originally was the hypocrisy of the industry, wasn't it? Oh, Doctor Who's got this over 28 days or whatever it was, blah, blah, blah. Oh, but look at Gladiators and look at Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, the overnight, which was being celebrated. Huge overnights, which they were celebrating. That's what we were trying to show. But we did get some criticism. And Raymond... we are going to get this because Raymond said Gladiators is still doing far better in the ratings than Doctor Who. People actually want to sit down and watch it live. Now, there will be people that will see this segment and comment in our show down below to say, we are lying about this. We're not telling the truth. We're not telling the truth about it. We're lying. Now, we have asked them all on the show. Nobody's come on. I would love to have them all on there. You know who you are. Come on the show. I'm fed up of typing. I'm old school. I'm sick and tired of this. These two will tell you. I get fed up of typing after a little while and I go off and have a drink. Can't be done with it. Come and talk to us. I prefer verbal chat. I prefer it all. Come and chat to us and tell us why you think we're wrong. But Raymond, that was exactly what they were saying on one of our last shows. We were lying about that. Gladiators is not doing better than Doctor Who in the ratings. I don't really want to get into that too much, But yeah, Richard is also saying to us, even with these shenanigans, they are still rubbish figures for a rubbish show.
Yeah.
Oof, that's good, Richard. What's next? Says the timescales. In the last 20 years, 400 million people have watched Rose making Doctor Who the most viewed TV show in world history.
Yeah.
We may laugh.
He's right, though, yeah.
Yeah. We concentrate on overnights, says Richard. It's a fair comparison. And also, when we come to do our review shows of the new stuff, it helps us with the ratings game. That's why we will always go by the overnights, because we can do it immediately. But I prefer, personally, the bums on seats that night. I think that's essential. How many people have been attracted by your marketing, who are attracted by your product, who are attracted by whoever's in your show? How many have gone out of their way to sit down on the night to watch it? I think that's important still. In all this day and age where it is very competitive, as we know, I think the industry should be more intense with how do we get people to watch us when we go out live? Never mind what comes later. How do we get them to watch there and then? You're spending millions and millions and millions now, aren't they, guys, on TV shows? And it's all going down the toilet.
Well, like I said before, I don't think they really publicised that Shooty's start. Allegedly, they were going to not do anything with the 60th and then try and punch it up for Shooty's arrival. They might do that for his first episode, his first proper series. But I reckon if it does get a spike, it'll be like Jodie's quite high, then like that after episode 1, if it does at all.
I don't think it will. I think it'll just carry on and this is May. Yeah. We will talk about this more as the series comes back in May. Yeah. And I just want to point out as well, to those of you new to the channel, we don't always criticize this. We do love Doctor Who. We are Doctor Who fans. And in March and April, we're going to have some fun as well. We've got headlines talking about all this sort of stuff, but we are going to balance it out with some fun as well. So don't worry, we're not always
watch
like
our
this.
Genesis review if you want some
yeah.
That's what you want.
Yeah. And we are celebrating the Peter Cushing Dalek films this month. It's Easter. Yeah. So we thought we'd have some fun with them. So come and join us for all those. We're not just always moaning. But this is what we do as fans. We get together, we have a drink, and we bitch about things, and we examine things, we talk about it. It's part of the fun of what fandom's all about.
Used to be.
Well, used to be, because now we get called. If I hear the term far right one more time this week, I think I'm going to vomit. Anybody that disagrees with anything now is far right. We know this. We've talked about it at all, because we're all that, aren't we? We're all that. Let's face it. That's what they're going to come across with. Yeah. It's utter nonsense, isn't it? TARDIS Travels, hello to you. Since when have 28-day viewing figure ever counted? All these other viewers could not be bothered to watch it on the night. And again, prove to me, as Paul's just said, I will never accept it, because Doctor Who fans are fans. They will go back and watch it over and over. And that is proven on X and various Facebook posts, isn't it? Oh, I've watched it 28 times now. It's the best thing ever. They'll spontaneously combust some of these kids one of these days. They're going to go completely insane.
I've watched that.
Yeah, that would be that's a good reality TV show. I might pitch Channel 5. Yeah, Doctor Who fans who spontaneously combust. Trademark, quick. Gary is here.
To be fair, though, I did watch the season 15 trailer a million times myself, to be fair, but yeah.
That was bloody good, though, wasn't it?
That was
really good.
Yes, that's the other thing we got criticised for as well, comparing the trailer to the Doctor Who Series 1 trailer. Gary says, come on, we all know it's RTD watching it on a loop, him and his cult. Must be. It must be.
Was that a typo, was it?
No, stop that. Doug is saying to us, regardless of the supposed final ratings, clearly the tradition of watching Doctor Who on Christmas Day has died. The general public don't care. I've been saying that for ages, haven't I, Doug? And I think I'll be able to rest my case if the episodes of the next version don't bring in the ratings on the overnights. So I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen on that. Dave Mullen, nice to see you. I would like to buy Doctor Who magazine again, but it just won't make an effort with its content and appeal. And it's $7.99 a month.
How much?
$7.99 a month. It's absolutely shocking, isn't it?
Do you remember 30p?
I remember 12p.
Yeah, 12p, yeah.
12p, then 30 for the monthly.
Weekly, yeah, and then 30p for the first monthly. Yeah, God.
Yeah. Timescales is saying to us, people don't watch TV anymore, they stream. Now, I have to put out to you again, Timescales, we are not in America, and it's not the same here. We have to buy a television license when you buy a television set. Whether you like it or not, if you don't have the television license, you could go to prison in our country. So it's not the same. Yes, they do to an extent, and we've got more channels now, but they will also still watch the BBC and ITV and the other on the other terrestrial networks. It's still a big part of our television life here, and it still has the big guns: Coronation Street, Doctor Who. We still get people to an extent watching the news channels. It's not all streamed here. It's totally different here. I have to really point that out. And just on that point as well, guys, just as an aside, we did get criticism recently that I said on one of my rants that people were defecting from watching the terrestrial channels because there were more going on. They're still terrestrial, but going on. I said that people were actually now more attracted to places like GB News and Talk TV. God forbid you mention GB News and Talk TV. Now, I did get a bit of criticism from that, or a particular incident where I got criticised for that. So I went and had a look, and I can tell you that on the big night we just had this week, big shocking night, let's not go into it, on Thursday night for the election coverage, so the by-election coverage, sorry, on Thursday night, I do have the official overnight figures here. GB News attracted 52,500 late night viewers. Sky News attracted 25,800 viewers. BBC News 36,000, and Talk TV 1,300. So I will admit Talk TV is struggling. I have heard about that this week as well. They could be. Still hope for them though. But GB News came out top. So you can't tell me that poor people are not going over to watch the alternatives. And that's what they are. They're alternatives. And no one can dictate whether people watch it or don't watch it. So anyway, that's that also looked at. Thank you.
They don't want you to have alternatives, do they? But
No,
because they want to control the narrative, and they're losing that narrative, which makes them very jittery, which is why they'll immediately start labeling. They were trying to destroy GB News months before it actually transmitted.
Oh, yeah.
With that by-election, which we won't mention, that's one party that Eddie Izzard isn't going to be joining, isn't it?
Well, this is true, though. We have to point that out because all these, for people outside the UK, these two alternative news, you can actually get them on the Tube of Who. You can look them up and you can watch them yourselves, of course, outside the UK, right? Which leads me to a point about the license, the iPlayer. But a year before GB News came across, we are suspect of certain people from the BBC putting out that it was going to be a far right, and that seems to have stuck with them. And yet, when you look at it, it's extremely balanced. They have some of the wokest reporters on there I've ever seen in my life. Two of them I can't watch because they drive me insane. So as soon as they come on the YouTube, I have to switch their show off. Those two know who they are because we're always arguing on X, so I'm not going to mention them. But that's the other point I wanted to mention about the iPlayer. How reliable are the iPlayer figures, guys? Because we know from our fabulous viewers in the chat and on this, our lovely subscribers, and thank you so much for this. We know that people outside of the UK are using the BBC iPlayer, which technically they shouldn't be allowed to do, but they are because they've told us.
Yeah.
How does that make... Hello, BBC iPlayer team. Your figures are not right.
Surely they shouldn't have any legal basis to prosecute anybody in this country for not having a license if they're allowing people outside to do it.
Yeah.
Surely they've got no case whatsoever. It just argues it must be subscription model only, which would be amazing. I would love that because then they'd have to live or die by the quality of what they put out. We know full well they'd die on their arse.
Yeah.
It'd be great. It'd be great.
This has all got to come out now, hasn't it, Paul? When when they start looking at this whole thing about the BBC and how it's funded, and I think we're all agreed here on our show, their day is numbered. The license fee is numbered.
The day is coming. They're going to have to review the license fee system and go to, as I've said many times before, to a streaming service, and people can choose what they want to if they want it. If not, the BBC is dead.
Yeah. Simon's making a very good point there. The BBC has to get as many views of any and everything on iPlay to justify the cost. Well, certainly because they're being scrutinised more and more, aren't they, Simon? Now it's and it's gonna get more intense for them. And as Paul's just said there, we all believe they're on the clock. They're on the clock. The license fee has to go. They can't keep going that. They can't keep threatening the British public with imprisonment for crying out loud. Although if a certain party gets in next, and they bring in the compelled speech they're threatening, we'll see you all there. We'll be doing this show this time next year from our cells, because that's going to possibly happen. Why on earth? Why on earth would you rewatch something you know is crap? Says Tony. No idea. No idea. No idea at all. No idea. Let's have a look. Let's have a look.
The virtue signaling, though, weren't they? They'll this boy that's pretending to be a girl has just referred to this monster and said you should call it by or ask it what its pronouns are. Isn't that fantastic? I'll watch it 50 times. They don't give a toss about the story. They don't give a toss what program it is. It's just because it's doing something or saying something that appeals to their little warped mindset and their twisty brain, and that's why they do it.
Yeah. It's all very interesting. Again, it'll be something that we do come back to, but I wanted to put it into the show now because Doctor Who magazine actually put that into there, and they mentioned the 28 days as well. I don't think we're going to agree with everybody at all that comments on the show. I don't think that's going to happen. Everybody's entitled to look at things very differently. We shouldn't be told this is truth and this is truth. We are entitled to be able to say, we don't think we are getting the right data. We think they are fudged somehow. It'd be interesting to see, guys, when the next reiteration of the show starts in May, what those ratings are like and what the bigger picture is and how it increases on the overnights. Will it be 7 days or will it be 28 days like they're reporting? Will there be truth in that or will there not be truth in that? It's something that we will be talking about in headlines as we get those figures coming through. Gosh, it's all go, isn't it?
I think ratings. We had the overnights and then we would get the consolidated. So we know they always, in the old way, they always went up. That was accepted.
Yeah.
But I think we, for any kind of reality, I think we just have to take the overnights and maybe add 10 or 15% and leave it at that. But what they're doing is they're adding almost 50%, to go from 4 million or whatever to 8 million. That's a ridiculous uplift. So, I think looking at the overnights or applying a slight percentage increase is probably the best way to look at it.
Like we said, when does that stop? They could quite easily carry on throughout the year, and then at the end of 2024, it's now up to 8.5 million. So
yeah.
But as you guys have also said on this very, very show, I would like to see the statistics now for the iPlayer of proper Doctor Who 63 to 89, and are they adding those onto their original ratings in a world that was totally different with only 3 and then 4 channels? Yeah, and it was coming in still with 7 million, right up more or less to the end, more or less. So have those shows now, as some of you have said in the chat, have they now gone past the 10, 15 million mark? I wonder if we'll get those figures. If anybody's out there and knows if we're going to be able to access iPlayer figures for proper Doctor Who 1963 to 1989, get in touch. You can get in touch with whoviews1@gmail.com. Anything at all you want as well, and any subjects that you want us to address on headlines, you are very, very, very welcome to do that. It's whoviews1@gmail.com. I'm sure Kirsty and Garbage will let you know, but there it is there, whoviews1@gmail.com. Yeah, brilliant. We are definitely coming back to this. This is not going away, is it? It really, really isn't going away. Let's have a look and see what the guys are saying in the chat. Oh, yeah. Simon's making a point here. He watches more TV from iPlayer than live. Interesting. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting to see how many people are actually doing that. Because I don't know anybody that's really doing that, to be honest. All my family sit down and we'll watch Casualty when it's broadcast. Or we'll watch Corrie when it's broadcast.
But you can watch live through iPlayer as well, though, can't you?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
That's true. That's true. And have they started? I mean, do we think? What about you in the chat? Do you think that Doctor Who Series 1, Doctor Who 2024, to save argument, is that going to be dropped as one? Will you be able to get all 8 episodes as one on the iPlayer to push more people to the iPlayer, or will they actually do it weekly? Who knows?
They can't really cook the books the same way if they do that, can they?
Yeah, but if they're trying to copy the Netflix model, which is what they're trying to do, they're trying to make iPlayer possibly the future of BBC television, aren't they?
Yeah.
And Netflix is famous for its box sets. Oh, we'll just drop the season and you watch it when you want to, so you can binge it in a day and then forget about it and get on with your life. I don't know. Richard is saying to us here, we shall see, but I don't see the great British public watching this show anymore. They're not, though, because they certainly didn't come back for it for those 4 alleged specials at the end of 2023, did they?
No.
I think the damage has been done, personally, Rich. I really, really do. And Blue Worm is making a point. For the past few years, I've watched more YouTube videos criticizing Doctor Who than the actual show. Certainly, Blue Worm, they created a market, didn't they? Hollywood, the BBC, entertainment in general created a massive market in 2020. And certainly, yes. And we're adding our voices to that big mix here, of course. So thank you for that. Neville's saying, greetings, everybody. Sorry, not sure how to reply to anyone individually, but you're more my sort of fans. Well, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. I hope you've subscribed. Please like as well. How you do that, if you look at some of the others, you put an at and then the name. And I think that's how you do that. So at Kirsty, for example, if you want to chat to Kirsty or acknowledge, that's how you do that, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ask
So,
Kirsty, she'll know.
Kirsty will know, actually. Yeah. And actually, she's already answered you.
There.
At Neville. Hit the notification bell for all the updates. And Tony's saying, welcome and get stuck in. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what this show's all about. And even if you don't agree with what we're saying, Neville, we want to know your opinion. It's called Whose Views for a reason. Black Glove Studio. Hello to you. Hi everyone from Chris McCowan and Black Glove Studio. Hello. It's nice to see you. How are you? Hope you are well. Hope you're all busy down there. Nice to see you. Richard is saying you'd rather buy novels more than the Doctor Who magazine. For those of you that are listening, there's plenty. Well, actually, you'd have to go back a bit. Actually, you'd have to go and get some of the decent novels from Virgin or even some of the later BBC. The novels that are around today, weak as water. Weak as water. I was actually looking at the Road novel the other day in the shop. Didn't buy it. Oh, and on that, just to let you know, if you are, you're probably not, but if you are thinking of buying the Church on Ruby Road novel, wait till next year because there's a paperback coming. It'll be cheaper. Not by much, but it'll be a little bit cheaper. Anyway, I was flicking through it and it was absolute.
It'll be in the bargain basement at some point, won't it?
Yeah.
I'll probably get
or the bin, whichever you prefer.
I'll probably get criticised for saying that now, but here's a quick review for you. Weak as water. Shocking.
And that's a polite version, isn't it?
Oh, yes, email me for the unpolite version. I am with you, Kirsty, says Dalek, I love you. I watch YouTube more than ever, and Whose Views is one of my favourites to watch. We love you too, Dalek, I love you, and thank you for that. But that's where I'm at all the time. I don't really go to the television anymore unless I want to watch a Blu-ray or occasionally some of the stuff on Netflix. It's all YouTube now, because even as we were saying before, you can get some of the news now on this, on the platform, can't you? So but anyway, there we go. We're all that. Thank you for all your comments. It's lovely to see you. I have now completely lost you all, but that's great. I guess the chat is coming through really, really, really. Wonderful. Now, yes, TARDIS Travels is bringing up our next topic. Actually, everybody, have you heard about this? Let's see what TARDIS Travels is saying. Bad Wolf Studios just got $4 million from taxpayers to film in Cardiff. Now, this is wow! Can you ever just believe this? This is Bad Wolf minted. Ka-ching, governor. Let's have a look at this, shall we? All together. Here we go. Bad Wolf, production company behind Doctor Who, gets new government deal. This was from Sky News earlier this week. Other series produced by the Cardiff-based production company include I Hate Susie, His Dark Materials, and A Discovery of Witches, all of which I am led to believe are now finished production. I don't know if we're going to return I Hate Susie, which starred Billy Piper, but the other two have definitely finished. Let's have a look and see what Thomas Evans, the Wales reporter for Sky News, was saying. The Welsh government says the $4 million deal will ensure Cardiff-based company Bad Wolf shoots and produces between 4 and 9 productions in Wales up to March 2027. The deal commits Bad Wolf to a minimum Welsh spend of $60 million over the 4-year period, according to the government. That's the Welsh government. It says the investment would deliver a return of 15-1 based on its own projections. Other series produced by the company, I've already mentioned I Hate Susie, His Dark Materials, and The Discovery of Witches. Deputy Culture Minister Dawn Bowden said the deal would strengthen Wales' reputation as a first-class filming location. Responding to this, she said, and this is Jane Tranter, Chief executive and co-founder of Bad Wolf, Jane Tranter, said the company was honoured to be part of an energetic and vibrant industry. When we first located Doctor Who in Wales almost 20 years ago, in the BBC that was, we could have hardly dared to hope that 2 decades later we would see such a diverse slate of TV drama being made by a plethora of different companies. And I was thinking, guys, if the Welsh government, and the money, let's face it, comes from central government for these devolved parliaments, there you go. But if the taxpayer has now actually invested all that money into a private business, especially one that's in the entertainment business, does that now mean that that private business in the entertainment business is answerable to the taxpayer for its content?
It begs the question, why are you paying a TV license if you're paying for it twice?
Well, I was thinking that you're absolutely right. You know, you've got to pay a TV license to watch this program, which actually your taxes have contributed to making, as well as your TV license fee has contributed to making in a way. So that is a question that needs answering. But yeah, I think it gives them a level of accountability, and they won't like that because they like having no accountability, don't they? As we've found out recently.
Now, who are the plethora of different companies? Is it not just Bad Wolf who kind of dominate the
Well, I'm
TV
sure,
company? Yeah.
Paul, we know the size of Bad Wolf now. They've done incredibly well. There is no denying that. And congratulations to Jane Tranter and to Julie for setting it up and doing that. Yes. But there's all the independents as well, isn't it? There's all the independents that they work with, like the special effects people and all this. Cardiff has suddenly, as we know, been turned into this sort of entertainment hub. It's just such a shame it never came to Scotland. But anyway, but you know, that's the thing there, isn't it, really? So this investment that the Welsh government have made into Bad Wolf, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, this is the conversation here now. You know, should they be taking on more responsibility of what they are producing? And should they be listening to all the viewpoints? What do you think?
Yeah,
they should be open. Sorry, Paul.
No, carry on.
I'm saying they should be open to public opinion, and they're not. They're closed. We found that out.
Now we have found that. And what actually Ian is referring to is, again, in a previous show, we spoke about Russell Don't Chop the T. Davis's response when it came to the Sunak and Starmer exchange in the UK government, in Westminster, in the Houses of Parliament. If you haven't seen that particular show, go back and have a look at it. But what happened is that after that exchange, he says, thinking of, that's a polite term, after that exchange, Attitude magazine brought this out, an open letter to the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, which we dealt with in that. But the response from Russell T. Davies on his Instagram was this: excellent words from Attitude magazine. We are governed by bastards who incite murder. So we got in touch with the BBC and we put in a complaint, and the BBC basically came back and washed their hands of it. They said, no, Russell T. Davies is not a BBC employee. He can say what he likes. Basically, that's what they said in a nutshell. It's all in one of our reaction shows. So on the 15th of February, we contacted Bad Wolf with the same complaint, saying that the BBC have washed their hands of this. We believe that Russell T. Davies is employed by you. What's your answer? We're still waiting for a response, and they've just taken £4 million of taxpayers' money.
Disgraceful.
Yeah, based on that, that's what I was going to say when we're clashing a bit there. I think based on that, we need to be accountable for what we are paying for as taxpayers, not just a license fee, but also this extra money from the government. So they need to be accountable for something. Otherwise, they'll get away with literally murder.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
I mean, we can't deny. Yeah, everybody's reacting to this now. Yep, it's all true. I mean, we can't deny that. What's happened since Doctor Who moved or came back in 2004 and was put into BBC Wales simply because Russell wanted it there, because Julie wanted it there. That's it in a nutshell. It could have easily have been back at the BBC in London. It could have easily have done that, but they didn't want that. They wanted it in Wales because Russell is Welsh, as we know. I think Julie's got strong links to Wales as well, or was she just following Russell? Somebody put me right. I don't know. But anyway, it went to Wales, as we all know. And since then, the industry just went boomf, because it was the industry for years. It had Doctor Who, Sarah Jane Adventures, Torchwood. People that started work on that show have now spun off into their own businesses, still based in and around Doctor Who and Cardiff. It's still there now, producing all this stuff. So we can't deny this, the huge success. So it makes sense for the Welsh government to be able to say, we have to keep this here at any cost. And if that means putting taxpayers' money and investing in the company that are producing it with BBC Studios, though.
Makes you wonder,
I don't know. Sorry?
Makes you wonder. I mean, I know the Welsh government doesn't, looking at the state of some of the public services and the NHS specifically in Wales, the Welsh government and transport and their 20 miles an hour limit and all this kind of rubbish that is just making people's lives difficult and now getting on the wrong side of the farmers wanting to take their land from them, which isn't going to end well. They've got a history of making very, very, very bad choices, and they just seem to be doing it with impunity. You know, it just strikes me as very, very dodgy. It looks very, very dodgy.
Yeah. Raymond is saying to us here, the Welsh government is as woke as they come. Well, no one's going to argue with that one. But show me a government now that hasn't or isn't leaning towards that, apart from the UK central one, which is resisting, and they're on the clock as well. Let's face it, you know, there is going to be a new government in the United Kingdom, whether it be a hung parliament or whatever's going to happen. There is. I mean, I think we all need to look at that and say, yes, that's going to happen. Just because politics is crazy again right now. It's absolutely insane. But this, let's have a look at this again, if you don't mind, everybody in the chat. Let's have a look at this. The deal commits Bad Wolf to a minimum Welsh spend of 60 million over the 4-year period, according to the government. The deal commits Bad Wolf to a minimum Welsh spend of 60 million. It says the investment would deliver a return of 15-1 based on its own projections. Deputy Culture Minister Dawn Bowden said the deal would strengthen Wales' reputation as a first-class filming location. So they're obviously thinking that Hollywood or whoever are going to come knocking on the door and start filming in Wales as well. Is that because obviously in Scotland we've done quite well with that at the moment. We've had things like the Batman, Flash, other things filmed up here, big Hollywood movies filmed in and around Glasgow and Edinburgh, for example, as well as up in the Highlands and stuff. There's a lot of places in the United Kingdom, isn't there, guys, where you can film. The Lake District, for example, in England, as well as the cities there. We know London does very well anyway. You could actually chop London off and let it sail away, and it was absolutely fine. You know, it was absolutely brilliant. But this does seem to be an awful lot of money to put into Bad Wolf. And I'm just getting that feeling on the back of my neck. I just think, well, what are you producing apart from... What other projects are you going to go? You've got Doctor Who. You've got that thing that nobody's talking about on ITVX, the Arthur thing. You know, whatever that is, the sword thing and whatever. And whatever Russell wants to do next, which let's face it, they're going to be flops as well, aren't they? Because the current show is flopping as well.
Well, they're going to be unstoppable, aren't they, with all that funding? Because, and if they're not going to be accountable, they can do what they like. And Russell can do what he likes, regardless of whether it's a flop or not. This
is worrying, isn't it? Because we now know they've had investment. I'm talking about Doctor Who specifically here. Disney have invested in the show. BBC Studios have invested in the show. Bad Wolf have now been invested by the Welsh government, i.e. the taxpayer. And they're still not listening to us. They're still not listening to fans. They're still writing us all off as right-wing or hateful people.
To be fair, they might need that 60 million to pay back Disney, because Disney will not be happy with the product either. So,
oh gosh, yeah. Let's see. What do you think in the chat about this? What do you think about all this? About this amount of money from the taxpayer going into Bad Wolf, and especially about them not even getting back to a simple email from myself to say, "Listen, what are you going to do about this?" Which, you know, they've probably just binned, let's face it, because, you know, just as bad as the BBC. What are you all saying? Richard Brooks is saying to us here, we will consume and stay in our boxes and pay multiple times for dreadfully bad entertainment. Crikey. Yeah, that's a true. TARDIS Travels is telling us Captain America's filmed partly in Manchester. Yes, it was. Oh, Raymond. Unless the farmers give up 10% of their land, they can lose government subsidies. Are there any conditions put on Bad Wolf? Somehow, I doubt it. There might be, but it's certainly not in the public domain. I did look. It might come out eventually. I don't know. But at that point with the announcement, it was very, very slimlined details of the business transaction. And yet it has to come out at some point because it's taxpayers' money.
Yeah.
So they have to tell us, don't they? They have to say what's going on about it. TARDIS Travels is saying, "Oh, that's a bit more money for the Sea Devils spin-off." Still not confirmed. It's still not
get
official.
The mucker now. Fantastic. We can afford a new mucker. That's lovely. Yeah.
And Raymond is saying to us, "All this money hasn't shown up on screen yet." Well, you know, they had a new unit set.
Yeah. They built a gigantic TARDIS as well. There we go.
Yeah. That's it. That's where it all went to. Data is telling us there are far nobler causes worthier of taxpayers' money than giving it to Bad Wolf. But we are dealing with Welsh government. I mean, again, it's for me, it just seems to be giving all that taxpayers' money to a production company should make Bad Wolf run the same as the BBC.
Yeah.
They should be accountable to the taxpayer at this point. And they're not going to be because we're a private company. Yeah, but you've just been funded by the taxpayer, for heaven's sake. If you get a complaint, you have to set up a team now to be able to say, the public are complaining about our output. And I know you're not used to that over in Bad Wolf Towers down in Cardiff. I know you're not used to that, but maybe you should get used to that because you're now dealing with Doctor Who and you are now co-producing Doctor Who. And you should know, and you do know how big a deal that is, but you also know what comes with it. Us, the fans, what's left of us. And we would like to actually speak about that. So maybe they should be looking at how they run that and how they're reacting to the public. Because
there's only 3 of them left, GT, and they watch it constantly, don't they? That's it.
It just seems to me that if they're going to take all that money, then they need to be a little bit more responsible maybe when it comes to that, and not just being able to say, well, we're a private company now, we don't have to deal with complaints. And also doing those launch events where only the selected approved few get to go to them as well. Yeah. You know?
Makes you wonder why the Welsh government felt that they needed to give them, because it's not something that Bad Wolf has tendered for. So what was it that made the Welsh government give Bad Wolf, a private company, 4 million in public money to keep them there? Did they think that Bad Wolf was going to pack up shop and go away? Because
they weren't going to, were
they? No. So I think they were going to be there regardless. So why would the Welsh government want to suddenly give them 4 million to guarantee that so many productions have been made between now and 2027? Surely that would happen anyway. So
maybe Simon's answering that maybe here. The employment associated with TV production is massive, and even tourism benefits. It absolutely does. That's the thing. If you do it correctly, you know. But Doctor Who's already there, isn't it? Really, I mean, they get a lot of anoraks appearing in Cardiff to go and see Ianto's shrine thing, which is still there. I took it down. It's an eyesore. It's a litter fest, to be quite honest. Please, it's a character. I would, because the bloody things fall into the canal or whatever it is, you know, all those letters and stuff. But they go down and they do that. They do the tour and stuff, you know. Well, not the tour. They go around and look at the locations, don't they? And you can find out where they are quite easy. Everything's around that part. You can go to the park. You can go up to the school from school reunion. You can do all that. That's easy enough to do. We as fans, of course, will all know fans that live in Cardiff or around Cardiff who are quite happy to take people around to show off their town. That's lovely. I get that. And yeah, there are. Richard is agreeing with that as well. I agree with it too. There should be a return on their investment. Yes, there should. There absolutely should. Neville is saying to us, they need the money for the Disney style production, and most of that seems to be wasted. Yeah, but we know Disney invested millions into that, don't we? How much more can they have? I mean, this isn't purely for Doctor Who. Let's stress that. It is for Bad Wolf to do with as they wish for production. So obviously they're going to go in production. But how much of it will go into these spin-offs that Russell T Davies has actually said are coming? How much of it will go into there?
And the thing I was wondering, and I'm sure it's the case, that these spin-offs, my understanding is they're going to be developed with Bad Wolf and Disney, not just Bad Wolf on their own. Yeah, is that would that be right?
Well, apparently so. Hopefully, we'll get to know when they actually make it clear that what they're doing, which should be any day now, of course, because as Shooty's next series comes to an end, they'll start filming in the spring and summer for the first spin-off. Again, come back to us on Headlines. We're going to be talking about that when we know more about it and when it's official. No jumping at the gun here.
Because Disney are very fond of spin-offs, aren't they? If you look at all their output, they're constantly doing so many things from different character perspective. You know?
Yeah. Well, they love all those spin-offs because they think there's money in them.
Yeah.
But surely the flop of Star Wars and Marvel have recently shown them there isn't. If you don't treat your fans right, and if your producers and your showrunners and stuff are slagging off your fan base, we will go.
It's the oversaturation of the market that's the issue I'm concerned about.
Yeah, but it's also the fact. Yeah. It's also the fact, Paul, isn't it, that when you look at some of your favourite characters who have been ruined because they've been rewritten to fit the narrative of the current day.
Yeah.
I mean, look what they did to the Doctor, to Luke Skywalker. You know, look what they did to all these classic characters they've got. They just Indiana Jones. God forbid they do a spin-off series of that now, because that's not going to work now, is it? They'll probably turn him into a woman, all this sort of stuff. Yeah. Thank you, Timescales. He's saying this is a great show, everyone. Fun discussion. I hope so. Serious, but fun, I hope. Raymond is saying to us as well, they shut down shops to shoot Doctor Who. Are the businesses really benefiting? They should do, because they'll get paid. But I did hear, and it's just a rumour, it's not as much as they could have possibly have made on a day.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just your standard industry rate, which I believe, Paul, hasn't changed much in the last 10 years.
I don't think it has. No.
Yeah. So if you are a coffee shop and you're closed for a day, so some production company can take over and film inside your coffee shop for that day, maybe even 2 days, you're possibly likely to still come out with a loss, because you might not be making. Depends on the size of your business. But that's, again, it's up to the business owner to say yay or nay.
Yeah.
It's down to them. So there's a decision. But it's a good point, Raymond. Thank you for that. What's the betting, says Simon? There will be a Doctor Who world in Florida. Please don't. That makes me sick. If you're going to get
surprise me, wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah,
but if you're going to get something as tacky as that, stick it in bloody Wales.
Well, didn't they try and do that with like a Star Wars? Disney do a Star Wars kind of. It wasn't Disneyland; it was a Star Wars kind of.
Yes, the world.
Show, Star Wars world kind of thing. Yeah, and that died a death. It was so expensive to go there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and apparently it was all based on those god-awful sequels. Who wants to go and look at that, for crying out loud? Maybe the little ones. Maybe I'm doing it an injustice, but you won't get me there. Blue Worm is saying to us, doesn't Wales have something better to show off than the leftovers from Shonky Bad Wolf Productions? Ooh, scathing. Ooh, Blue Worm, you are scathing. How do we know, says Timescales, that Disney invested millions? Are there documents to show that? I own Disney stock and have never seen it mentioned in any document. Yeah, Doctor Who magazine, amongst others, said that Disney's investment was in the millions. So it's been printed. I'm sure it was Doctor Who magazine, SFX, but you know you can guarantee that it was a lot of money as well, because it came in after they'd started shooting. It was. I think was it Doctor Who magazine that documented it.
I think so. Yeah, it came at a later stage. I think they already started work on the Tennant stuff. I think it was in release with Shooty stuff. They were trying to get money from there, I think. So you might see more of an impact in special effects in these first series, perhaps, rather than what we've seen so far.
Well, certainly that's the reason why Disney Plus is going to go all out to promote the season 1 for Shooty Gatwa, isn't it? There's going to be a hell of a lot of promotion. We saw that starting with Christmas, because apparently and allegedly they also spent money on in marketing as well with BBC and Bad Wolf. And I don't know the full details on that, but it is there. They've more of an interest in this forthcoming series, let's put it that way, rather than the 3 alleged 60th anniversary specials and the Christmas special. It's all about the next one. I think we're going to see the money coming through, as Paul says there. We're certainly going to see more marketing on Disney Plus, probably towards the middle to the end of April. I think it's going to be quite huge in what they're going to be doing outside of the UK. Because, of course, we don't get it on Disney Plus in the UK or Northern Ireland. It's on the BBC here. So we won't get to see much about it. And that's where we rely on you. You can tell us what's going on in your local area when it comes to all that. How are they promoting it? Is it massive or is it a letdown? You'll be able to tell us. You'll be able to let us know.
They've already got some creative control, though, haven't they? Like with the snowman in the Christmas episode and stuff like that.
Yes, and that's because they've invested in the show.
Yeah.
But yes, certainly over here, we've got to remember that timescales is, of course, in America. But over here, we've had that story come through in our magazines here. I'm sure it was Doctor Who magazine. I'm sure it was also SFX over the 60th anniversary, because that has been a real discussion point with a lot of people here in the UK, right from the word go, where with Disney it was announced. And of course, I think the majority of us went, oh, God.
Yeah,
and I think we're still there, but there we go. But listen, that's that latest headline as well, and I thought it would be interesting. Again, we need to keep an eye on this one. But Bad Wolf, production company behind Doctor Who, has just been given a new Welsh government deal, and it's a lot of money. They are minted. Let's see what they come up with on that, and let's see if we can find out any more details. If you get any more details on that, you know where we are. whosviews1@gmail.com. Wow, busy. We hope you've enjoyed all the content tonight. Shall we just round off with a very nice way of doing it? Now, Ian, this is something you sent to me. You found this?
Oh, yeah. Every now and again, you get these pictures just pop up, often on X or Instagram. They're easier to grab on X, of course, but I'd never particularly seen this behind the scenes Tom Baker one before. Obviously, Revenge of the Cybermen looking in the background.
Yeah.
But even there, Tom is doing his filming of Revenge. He probably hasn't been seen on TV yet, and yet already he's got the kids eating out the palm of his hand. You can tell.
Yeah.
Lovely shot that. I love it.
It is amazing. Sorry, Paul.
Like I said, I love photographs like this. It just shows how good Tom was with the kids, and as the Doctor, a great actor, great character, great persona, a lot of charisma and charm. And I love to see interviews with Tom at this time, like the Wookiee Hole interview that's out there, or the Tear the Zygons one. He's fabulous in that, absolutely fabulous.
Yeah. It really is. Yeah. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. All these years later, I cannot believe that little gems like that are turning up, because I've never seen that before either. And isn't it amazing? Where are these photos kept? Are they in somebody's loft? I bet you they're in one of those old photo albums.
They probably are. Yeah.
Can you imagine what they'd be like? You'd have to pry them out with a screwdriver or something now, because the glue would have really taken hold, wouldn't they? Let's have a look there. Raymond is saying yes.
He's not charging 25 quid for it either, is he?
No,
not at all. Yes.
Raymond is saying to us here, great Doctor, what a legend.
Yeah,
absolutely. TARDIS travels, Cyber Leader at the back, absolutely. Yeah, there. And Garbage. So Tom's first season and signing, amazing. And also, as Ian was saying, that he wasn't even on TV at that point, really, because he was still filming Revenge. I think Revenge was finishing filming just as he was about to come on, wasn't he? Or just as it was starting?
Yeah.
Robot
like hadn't been on yet. Yeah, I've just about to come on,
Yeah. Brilliant, man. Well, listen, thank you all, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Thank you all for your comments on tonight's edition of Headlines. How do you fancy doing it all again? Same time, same place, tomorrow. Third Doctor Ian, Paul, and myself, God willing, will be back here tomorrow. And your headlines tomorrow, so I can preempt this, because it's up on the channel now. Get it liked, ring that bell, 7:30 UK time tomorrow. Your headlines tomorrow will be Sam West speaks, the BBC, shock horror, it's still woke, yes, another report, and alleged trans activist Craggs has been on a rant about the NHS, our beloved NHS. We will see you tomorrow, same place, same time. Come and join us again. Let's do more of it tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for joining. Let's say goodnight to everybody. Go on.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.